Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of WrestleCorp. It's Monday. Ladies
We
and
don't do
gentlemen,
this
to
on
another-
Mondays.
Shh, other me. We're trying to broadcast. We don't usually do shows on Mondays, unless it's a SportsCorp, which, by the way, we do have one next week. I've come up with a new topic, Marcus. Our top 10 favorite NFL players. Because it took me that long to figure out that topic. I'm super smart.
Very favorite, not best. We don't have to get analytical with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just talk about the people we like seeing hit other people because it's fun. But tomorrow night, where we regularly record WrestleCorp here on twitch.tv/WrestleCorp, we are doing a look back at 2007 in the life of Hulk Hogan. Because apparently 2007 was the worst year ever for Hulk Hogan. But honestly, 2007 might be the worst year in wrestling history as well. And we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But we're going to do a deep dive on Hogan in that year and really present the question on whether or not actions can be forgiven. And then it's going to be real it's going to be real interesting. I don't know how long.
Presenting size, not picking them.
Exactly. We're not really sure how long it's going to be, and by we I mean me. But it could be 20 minutes, could be 4 hours. We'll find out when we record it. But what I want to do is make sure that we had ample time to talk about Rebellion, because a topic like that with the Hogan thing and the year as a whole, it's going to be a rough kind of conversation. Not rough, but it's going to take a lot of energy, and it's going to take a lot of the focus. And I wanted to make sure that we gave Rebellion an ample opportunity to shine. Because despite one decision on last night's show, I think to use a phrase that is severely out of my realm, it was banging. That was a great fucking show.
It really was. This was their best show since not Slammiversary. What was the one where they came out swinging that nobody expected?
Redemption?
I think it was Redemption.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. It was really fucking good. Really good.
Slammiversary was the show we refer to as Close Quarters, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
So, first and foremost, Marcus, initial reactions from Rebellion heading into the pay-per-view, what kind of expectations did you have?
I had high, because I got that text you before the show, man. I had put that damn hype video on loop, because I didn't catch the actual, the impact leading up to it until the day of the show. So I caught the highlights of that, and then I watched the video package. I'm like, man, the hype package is fire. And the guy that was voicing it over sounded like the little nephew of the old TNA voiceover guy.
Oh, yeah. That dude was... I miss that dude.
So that was fire, but the clips, and I love the music they had with it, man. Like, that was, that's a big thing for me when it comes to, like, movies and shows and stuff. Themes and music really can take me in and put me off of something. So, it was just a hype video. And I text y'all, like, if this show could be half as good or better than this hype video, we got an A show. And this was a hell of a show. Like you said, besides one, what the hell am I watching? RH? It's a blunder. It was top notch.
Yeah, and that was one of those moments where I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, really? Like this is what we're doing? Really, y'all?
Really?
I was unfun, if you will.
A situation in that scenario was already sour. It's not like that was a 5-star match.
Yeah.
Because of circumstances. So and obviously this is dependent on, your perception of this particular individual. Well, I don't even like the name, to be honest. But, for us, it was a solid no. But thankfully for us, that wasn't the end of the night. So.
They definitely saved their Canadian bacon, if you will. Yeah. By making the decision to not put the world title on last. I don't know if they're aware of who he is and what he's about, but it was pretty evident that there was some foresight put into why the ending of the night was the ending of the night. So let's start with the fact that we had 3, maybe 4 matches that were announced weekend of, day of, and I didn't have an issue with that, honestly. I liked the fact that they were going out and kind of giving us this new, maybe not new, but different matchups that weren't really to be expected. Because I think sometimes that's necessary. I think sometimes when you go into these major events, having all rivalry matches takes away from the impact of the rivalry matches. That's one of the things I think New Japan does really well. They give you competitive matchups that you don't really see that often on their shows, and it really does kind of add some specialness to the top of the card when you have some of these more exhibition-style matches. Did you have an issue with the fact that 2 or 3, 4, I think it's 3 or 4 matches, were kind of late additions?
No, I didn't have a problem with it at all.
All right. Well, let's
No,
look.
I'm good.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with it at all. Like you said, I think you pointed this out in the article. It was, makes the show better. They used to do that like back in the day with shows, and yeah, I just think it keeps things, keeps the fans on toes and stuff fun. I mean, what's the thing we always see at the bottom of the advertisement for wrestling shows? Anyway, call subject to change.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you're not always guaranteed that the matches that are planned and that built to the show will be good. You can't always guarantee that. So, at least you can do kind of roll the dice and get you a fun little 6-man scramble that's not necessarily a spot fest, has spots, but it is very much a variety of things. And I think they kicked the show off with something like that.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. I would also have been all right with it being a tag match, because it was a 6-way, a scramble match, and that could have been just as fun because you could have had Jake Diener, Petey, and Eddie, or actually I think it would probably be Jake Diener, Eddie, and Aiden Prince versus Ace Austin, Jake Christ, and Petey. You could all obviously switch that up any way you want, but it was a fun match regardless. Eddie looked great. They're starting to call him now a brawler, which is actually not true. He's quite technically proficient, but okay, whatever. Ace Austin looks like $1 million. Jake Christ is always so engaging when he's on his own in these matches. And I did enjoy Aiden Prince. I think he needs a bit of a look update. I think he needs more presentation than what he's been given. That's my takeaway. What about yours?
Yeah, I dug it. I'm glad we got to see Eddie on the call, specifically because of the things that's going on, that we know going on in terms of potential feud or non-feud now. I guess that's, with Eli, because, he's gone. So, it doesn't necessarily leave Eddie dead in the water, because I think you could, if you had to, you could kind of just do it like a hard stop based on what we got from the last Impact.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool to see him in there. Like you say, Jay Chris is always cool in those scenarios. Ace Austin is very much building a lot of steam. And who was the other guy?
Aiden Prince.
Yeah, Aiden Prince. Yeah, he was. Yeah, definitely agree. He probably needs to do something to stand out more. Ace got his thing with the card gimmick and everything like that. But excuse me, I saw that match. The kid's good. He just like you said, he kind of got to do something to stand out.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is, but I have to imagine he's not entirely that old. So it's okay that he doesn't have, Sammy Callahan or, even Velveteen Dreams level of gimmick at this point. He's all right to be able to have them develop at their own pace. And considering he was basically the least known guy in this match, nobody expected much out of him, and he did show up. So that's pretty impressive. So I don't have a problem with this at all. I thought it was good. Ace Austin gets the win. Any thoughts on Ace Austin winning?
No, I like it. Like I said, he's building momentum. All things to go, he should. I keep having to remind myself that Drake is not the coach of the Toronto Raptors.
Who? Ace Austin?
No, I'm looking at these playoffs. I keep having to remind myself that Drake, as exuberant he is on the sidelines, is not the coach of the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, yeah.
You would never tell that by his exuberance on the sideline.
He's not even like a co-owner. I think like Jay-Z owns part of the Nets, and even he doesn't get that excited.
You're like, I don't need to own the Raptors. I own Toronto. I'm like, okay, Drake.
Calm down, Drake.
But yeah, all things point to it, he should be headed towards the X Division title shot. If the head Canadian in charge doesn't run him the ground. I mean, obviously he now holds against a pinfall victory over Petey, but the Canadian Destroyer doesn't want to go away easy, so he might have to run another 5 with him before he gets to Richard.
Yeah, and Richard Swan, the richiest of swans, upped his game in a big way, and we'll get to him because, whoa.
Face Swan.
Yeah. Intergender match next, Scarlett Bordeaux with Falaba took on Rohit Raju with Gama Singh and Raj Singh. This was an enjoyable match. I liked the way it was laid out. It felt more like Bordeaux was able to hang with Rohit instead of dominating him, and I think that's kind of the line you got to play with when you do intergender matches. I'm not alone in my hesitation for these matches, so I'm not going to sit here and try to spout my own kind of self-identifiable epithet on intergender wrestling. But if you're going to do it, you got to make it make sense. You got to make it look good. And that was one of the things that they did well. They put over the fact that Rohit was stronger than her, was probably quicker than her, had more endurance than her, but Scarlett was able to surprise him with a few moves. And they really put over the fact that it wasn't so much that Scarlett dominated Rohit, it was that she was just better on that night than him. And with the way Rohit's been essentially booked up until this point, he was probably the most likeliest of candidates to be the one who eats this loss outside of a disco. And we already did disco. So I think it was fine. And while it wasn't anything show-stealing, Scarlett looked good. And when you have to compete with men, you're generally dealing with very athletic individuals. And the women aren't always as athletic as men. Just coming off the last 30 years, you can look at the women's wrestling in America and you can go, whoa, yeesh, it hasn't always been good. But you look at modern female athletes, and 2 of them are on this card, Tessa Blanchard and Jordynne Grace. There's a lot of women who are starting to up their game and starting to catch up to some of the middling men. And I think Rohit's one of those names that Scarlett Bordeaux could catch up to in terms of athleticism. So it made sense that she would go over on this night. So I have no problem with that. She looked fantastic going over. And I love the pairing of her and Falaba. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, 100% agree. The fact that she is on this card automatically, put it in good standing before the night ended, of course. But yeah, I mean, she's done a real consistent job when she's gotten the matches with these guys of making it look, and obviously that's a two-person thing. It's a dance of making these things believable. Obviously, I don't think she's on the level of a Tessa when it comes to these intergender matches, because I think Tessa's just done it more. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's a different level of skill. But yeah, she looked good. Her stuff mattered. I mean, like you said, she surprised him with a little thing. When she did eventually hit him with a German, it was based off of momentum coming off the ropes, not pure strength. And stuff like that matters and goes a long way in matches like this. So, I thought, like you said, it was a good match, and she ended with a climactic finish. What was the finish that she hit?
That was the one thing I couldn't remember, because when I was doing the write-up, I was like, wait, how did this match end? Let's be creative in how we describe it.
Because I know she can do a Canadian Destroyer. That's the new super kick these days. But yeah, she had an impactful finish that so she knows what she's doing. So I'm definitely looking forward to see her doing more, and maybe eventually she'll move on and to the women's of it all. But I think just looking at what we've gotten here, she's done so great with the whole concept of delayed gratification. Mm-hmm. Because just looking at where she started from and all that stuff, and really holding momentum with that sex. And obviously I think it frustrated a lot of people, because it's like she's just holding up minutes on the show and she's not wrestling. It's, we're so past the sex appeal of these women nowadays, but she really took that ball and ran with it and did it in a way that was not tasteless. And she, now that she's wrestling and proving she can go, it's only going to get better. And she's maintaining the sexiness that she built up with outfits and just her natural movements and stuff. So I think she got everything she needs.
Yeah, everything about her is top notch at this point in time. I don't think there's anything that she needs to worry about working on. At the very least, I don't think there's anything about her that she can instantly improve on. So I think the best bet for her to do is to continue to develop her character work and to continue to raise the profile of her going forward. And Sean Ross Sapp, that dude needs to be kicked in the nuts.
What did he do now?
He's like Impact. Scarlett Bordeaux is the Sable of Impact Wrestling.
The Sable.
Yeah. A 20-year-old, outdated, not even viably comparable reference. One, Sable was as popular as she was because internet porn wasn't as prevalent as it was, and it was much harder to find naked women if you were an adolescent teenager in 1998. That's not the case now. So Sable has had a much higher profile because she was the most popular woman in all of wrestledom in 1998 and 1999. Scarlett Bordeaux does not have that grand appeal because of just obvious circumstances. Also, Bordeaux's a much better wrestler than Sable was. I don't even think that's an argument. So I don't know, other than them both being busty and not even blonde, because Bordeaux has kind of white, silver hair. Silver, I guess, if you would call it.
Like platinum blonde.
Yeah, it's not even the same color hair. They're both just women with boobs. That's the laziest comparison ever. And then it's kind of indicative that the same day Sean Ross Sapp makes a comparison to a 52-year-old mom of 4, or 3, however many kids she has, Cody Rhodes drops a video saying he wants to kill the Attitude Era because he's sick of people making lazy comparisons to athletes from the Attitude Era. I hope Sean Ross Sapp took that to heart, because he's a fucking idiot if he actually thinks that's a good comparison. Because it's not a good comparison. It's a bad comparison.
Yeah, and it's already showing that you coming at this stuff from a boxed-in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You're either, cutting these women into two halves. Either they're in the Molly Holly category or the Tori Wilson category, or the Tori Wilson / Sable category of it all. And that's very shitty, narrow-minded thinking that has forced these women to fight as long and as hard as they have to get to where they are now. And in his mind, he's helping some kind of way with his journalistic integrity on all this, or his unbiased, if you will. But that is unfortunate fame and long-standing ignorance that's unfortunately plagued this industry for a long time. So, but this is oftentimes guys like that, unfortunately, that get the most play for whatever reason.
I can't stand the dude. He's a managing editor, and he tries to be the sycophant, the voice of reason among wrestling communities, and it's so obnoxious. And he's so condescending, and he can't take criticism. It's the worst. Oh, he's the worst. He's not even funny like Meltzer. Meltzer just rips on people on Twitter, and it's hilarious. Sean Ross Sapp will actually lie about what he actually said. And then he tries to really twist things around. I still won't get past the whole thing where he called Bret Hart a stroke victim during the Hall of Fame thing this year. He's like, Bret Hart's a stroke victim. I'm like, you can't be a fucking stroke victim. Do a disease. Victim implies a crime. You fucking idiot. Sorry. I just don't like the dude, and the things he says piss me off, and it's all secular. It's all secular. He's terrible at his job. Moving on. People who aren't terrible at the job. Moose and the North, or as I've called them, the Northern Moose, or for you fans of the early 90s sitcom, Northern Exposure.
By the way, that segment on the last show leading up to that was hilarious.
These guys are so damn funny. Oh my God.
What was that running gag? Running gag, an old dude needing to unconstipate himself? Oh.
I don't remember.
He kept pulling out Pepto-Bismol. I don't know if that was Wentz or Trey. I think it was Wentz. He kept pulling out a laxative out his thing. And then something happened, and then Dez was like, "Are you pregnant?" Like, no. I might be. These dudes here, man.
The Rascals are easily one of the best aspects of each week. And this is one of those where they don't win a lot, but they're also not needed to win. They have such great chemistry and such great entertainment value that you are able to utilize them in multiple different ways. Unlike, and this is no shot against Moose by any means, but Moose needs to win. You know, he loses a lot of big-time opportunities in his run so far that if he were to lose the smaller ones, it would really impact him. Now, there's nothing wrong with a guy who can't get over the hump for a little while and win the world title. But when you also have him losing to, all of the other wrestlers, it does take a toll. On the flip side, the Rascals have been kind of slowly building themselves up. So it's okay that they lose every so often because the idea is that they're still new and you can get them over in different ways. And that's exactly what they're going about. And I have no problem with it. This match was insanity. And I'm pretty sure half the shit I saw, I either dreamt or at one time did dream of. It's insane. The two big spots that Marcus really stood out to me were the triple corner splashes or twirls or twists or whatever the fuck they were doing. I think it was all on like Josh Alexander. They were just all teeing off on him. I felt so bad for him. Like, the dude's got a bad neck. Go easy. And then, of course, the Trey Miguel attempt to flip over the top rope and hit Moose with a Hurricane Rana, but he got caught by Moose, and then Moose decided to play How Much Do You Weigh by throwing Trey Miguel around the ringside area. Poor Trey.
The spot that I liked, they did their finish with the like I'm going for a shooting star with the help of a push.
Oh, the push salt.
Yeah, the push off salt. Yeah, that was to the outside. That was crazy, but that corner got utilized a lot. And shout out to everybody, man, because nobody botched anything.
No. All six dudes looked phenomenal in this match.
Thorough, man. Thorough. Josh Alexander is a beast. Him and
Ethan Page.
Oh, Ethan, man. Just, I mean, those tandem tag team moves, man, are just straight boss.
You can tell when two guys are truly friends, like Page and Alexander are, because they have this dearth of understanding of one another to the point of pure excellence, and it's great. And here's the thing: Moose is. Does it look like to you that Moose is gaining muscle?
Yeah, he's definitely not in. He's definitely another one that's slimming. Like I don't know if him and Bob got the same trainer.
Scarlett.
Yes, hey, I get my life together too. But the effort is futile when her boyfriend's a little killer. But not literally, but you know.
Well, we don't know that it's not literally.
If he's not, he's a hell of a seller.
I haven't heard from Disco in a few weeks. That's all I'm gonna say.
If that's the case, I'm gonna have to send him a fruit arrangement on behalf of Mitchell. Very cool fruit arrangement, but
congratulations on your most recent murder.
Yeah, he's hilarious. But he's definitely getting in shape. He's looking good, man. Tire, the bodies, everything's going up.
He does look swollen, or as the kids say, swole. And with that one single elbow pad, it really kind of gives him a unique look. And the thing that I told you 2 years ago, Moose isn't ready, and not to say that you didn't agree. I'm just framing the story for everyone else. You know, I told you Moose wasn't ready. Give him 2 or 3 years, and let's see how he is. And I'm sitting here now 2.5 years later going, Moose is ready. I don't know if you want to put the world title on him now because you just put it on Cage. Spoiler. But if you were to put the world title on Moose this year, it would not be an issue in my head. He's figured out his gimmick. He's figured out his look. He has put together his wrestling. And I've said it all throughout 017. That doesn't sound right. I said it throughout 17 and 18. He needs the experience of losing in these big matches so he knows what to do when he wins. When he lost to Aries, Alberto El Patron, when he lost to those kind of guys, he was gaining a lot of experience. I even told you, like, neither one of us are at all fans of Alberto El Patron. But I also said that he is very good in the ring, and with a guy like Moose, who still is, he's in his 5th year, if that. he needs to work with these pros. Like, think about guys like Josh Alexander. He's been wrestling for 13 years. You know, the Rascals, I think they've all been wrestling for anywhere from 8 to 9 to 10. 5 years? Like, that's Velveteen Dream, man. Like, that's how long he's been going. And Moose is in his mid-30s, so, you know, there's going to be a natural evolution that needs to happen. And Moose has been easily the breakout star of 2019. He's figured himself out to the point where he can headline and I think main event a show, or more specifically a promotion. And he's in the perfect position where if he does main event, win the world title, and he doesn't succeed as being a draw, that's okay, because you can just move the title off to somebody else without hurting Moose's credibility and go back to retooling on Moose. You know, he does not need to carry Impact right now, so he's in the perfect opportunity to start main eventing to see how he goes. So credit to credit is you know, all the credit in the world to Moose, because he's been phenomenal this year, and this match was just the icing on the cake.
Really was. I mean, 100%. I mean, everybody in this match is a phenomenal talent. Like I said, I mean, it was a lot of flawless execution. I guess my only minor gripe was I had to kind of, like, it got to a point I was like, okay, who's legal? But I feel like that a lot of times with Impact tag matches, sometimes, because it kind of goes from traditional rules and then the action gets so breakneck pace that it's kind of like turns into a free fall, specifically with past matches between LAX and the Lucha Bros, because those just kind of divulge into excellent chaos, the best way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, the match was great. And Moose, I mean, you were right on him. He wasn't ready. I mean, look, he wasn't in the shape he's in now. He had a lot of potential, but still rough around the edges. He wasn't exactly intriguing on the mic. We talked about it before. He's thick-tongued. But with this, like you said, he's found himself. He's found himself in his gimmick. And he could have been easily left in the lurch, specifically under old regimes. Mm-hmm. He would have been left in the lurch ass out after Aries left.
It's very possible, yeah.
You know, him and Cross, to be honest. Like, they past regimes would have wasted Cross. Let the contract expire, whatever the goofiness that went on. But he kept the theme music. He kept the swag, you know, just turned it up a little bit more, and it's working for him. Like, every part of it is working for him. Like, he was cool as a face, but he really wasn't, you know, somebody I looked forward to seeing, unfortunately. Even when he was, like, I guess, the grand champion, whatnot, he was just kind of somebody that came out and did the arm thing. Now he'll come out and he'll mock himself with that. Mm-hmm. And it works. So, you know, it's really been cool watching him make this transition from being that guy, you know, that was rough around the edges, coming out of all age, where he was getting better, and then come to Impact and stay when, you know, cohorts that he came in with obviously left. And he's only just, you know, got better. You know, so it's really been cool seeing him coming to his own.
And that's the one thing that I think is really important to note. While the Rascals themselves aren't any way, shape, or form in any way responsible for Moose's development, the fact that Moose has been able to play off of 3 very fun, very personable baby faces has been the culmination. Because the one thing that I keep trying to hammer home whenever we do these shows, there's a difference between being good on the mic and being charismatic. You can be a personality and not be able to talk. Hello, Ultimate Warrior and Bray Wyatt. But to be able to figure out how to talk, to fit your character, is the most important thing a wrestler should do, and it's part and part why the top stars in WWE aren't top stars, because no one cares about them when they talk. Because they go so far away from who they are as people, or who they are as characters, that there's not able to be a development of rapport between the personality and the fans. To do a slow build with Moose allows you to test him, not in ways that, oh, I see he failed, but to see what he can do. And when you put him in these segments with the Rascals, he's forced to go out of his comfort zone of just being the big, tall dude who's like, I'm super aggressive. Rawr. And now he's forced to play along. He's forced to tear down the walls around his own personal self-image and challenge himself to see what he can do, because there's a lot of people in wrestling who do not do well in that scenario. And I look at, Marcus, have you seen that Cody Rhodes video that he tweeted out last night?
No.
Oh my God, Marcus! It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, he almost had to. I mean, his brother damn near sold 90% of the match with just his one video.
Right? But when you look at someone like Cody and you hear him talk, the problem is everyone looks at wrestling through the eyes of how the WWE does it. And the problem is with that, the WWE doesn't know how to do it anymore. All you got to do is look at the fact that they've lost, I think it's 34% of their subscribers from last year to this year. You think those people who are like, I'm canceling the subscription on boycotts are alone? They're not. And the network is no longer making money, and that is a problem for the company. But you look at how they do it, and like you listen to a Seth Rollins promo or a Roman Reigns promo, because they're, I think, the two biggest examples on how not to do it. They're the same character. They don't have anything about them that makes them stand out. They both wear the same stupid outfits. They both wear the same stupid haircuts, and they both say the same stupid things with their same stupid beards. But when Seth Rollins was coming in, he was a hardcore punk fan. He was headbanging and came out to, thrash music, and he was, he's doing stage dives and shit. And he had a personality, and now he's red Roman Reigns, and then you have black Roman Reigns, and then when you have Dean Ambrose, you have balding Roman Reigns. They're all the same character. But when you're able to sit down and do differing type of segments like Moose did with the Rascals, you're able to showcase what you can do and show that you're not just a meathead, a jock, a two-star athlete, a dual sport athlete, a serious fighter, or just a bully. You give him a personality, you give him a flavor, you give him some pizzazz and some panache, and all of a sudden he becomes Moose to, Moose. The outlandish wardrobes, and here's the thing, I don't think he's doing it in some type of like nice kind of nod to his heritage. I think he's doing it because he knows that these outfits are outlandish, and people are gonna be like, dude, what's with the outfit? Because that's what you need to do to get over, and that's how it used to be back in the '80s when Flair was wearing these $200, $300 suits that would now be like $5,000. Like, why are you going to a tailor to buy a suit? You go to what do they have in the '70s and '80s? You go to Sears and get a $25 off the rack jacket. What are you doing, Ric Flair? Why do you got diamonds on your hand? Why are you talking about riding on limousines? Who do you think you're? You think you're better than me? That's all Moose is doing. He's just he hasn't reinvented the wheel. He's just dusted it off and added some interesting details to it, and that's what's working. So Moose is. I'm not going to sit here and say he's in my top 5 in Impact right now because I don't know who the top 5 is because I haven't thought about it. But he's at least he's made a case to be in it for sure, and that is a testament to his development and his growth as a character and a performer.
Yeah, and kudos to the creative and just the staff in general, allowing those guys to do segments like those smoking room segments and even some like that hallway segment, like stuff with Cross and Swan meeting in the hallway and stuff like those are like kind of stepping outside of the regular box, but not so much that it comes off completely out of left field for the characters that they've been from week to week.
I'm not over Trey Miguel getting punched in the face 9 times by Moose.
I'm just loving the fact that it's an ongoing gag. And Moose keep bringing up the fact, he's like, hey, remember these shades that you loaned me?
It's such a dick move. I love it. And Trey's overreaction to it is even better because he's a full-grown man, and in any other case in real life, he'd fight him. But instead, he just crosses his arm and pouts, and it's so endearing. You're like, oh, Trey, come here.
It was either Wentz or Trey because Moose hemmed one of them up, and they were just screaming the whole time. Glorious.
They're so funny. Oh, I love it.
Bumped into each other, and I think that was Wentz. Wentz went, man. I mean, it was Trey. Was like, man, your big ass head talking about Dez. And the fro don't help the fact about his head. But it's just these guys. It's just some good stuff, man. It's just some really good stuff.
And I like that Moose calls them his friends. Come on, guys, we're friends. And Trey's like, friends don't do this to people. I love it. Taya took on Jordynne Grace for the Impact Knockouts Championship. I really like this match, even though it was a little bit methodical. 2 minutes into the match, Jordynne has Taya set up. Taya moves, and Jordynne injures her arm, and that's all the match becomes is Taya working on the arm. And it worked. It was a great little match because you kept wondering, what does she got to do to come back to win this? And here's the thing with saying this about Jordynne. Like, duh. But she's in better shape now, too. I don't know if Jordynne's leading like some kind of fitness camp in the back, but she's a lot more detailed.
She's the truest definition of fit thick. I mean, look, all these women look. First of all, we're gonna get to Gail Kim.
Oh,
her ageless ass. But yeah, Jordynne, like there was a picture like her and Tessa working out, and Tessa.
Yes.
We already know how I feel about Tessa, but Lord, these women, like Jordynne Grace is the true definition. Like screw all these Instagram models. Jordynne Grace is the truest definition of fit thick.
She's just the truest definition of fit. Watching her do full-on squats while Tessa's on her shoulders, what?
The most intimidatingly sexy thing I've seen on the internet.
Right? Like you're like, I am oddly turned on, but also afraid.
And again, it's that thing, like, because again, getting back to the I guess the raw sap of it all, like, a lot of these guys have kind of split these women off into two personality types, like the Sable or they either Sable or they Charlotte.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And, I feel like Tessa and Jordynne have really bridged that gap of, looking like, athletic, toned up badasses, but keeping that femininity about them that a lot of times get lost with some of the talent because they either, they go totally one way or totally the other way, and they found a perfect balance, specifically Tessa on her entrance alone, which I make sure I never miss. But yeah, they just great. And Jordynne, I mean, I like the way the match was set up too because Jordynne is a hoss in every sense of the word, and Taya is great too, and she's in great shape too. But I love how she's turned up her aggressive side. Because that's needed, and with the whole wet loca thing, and even the attack she put on her beforehand, like hitting her with that dumbbell and stuff. And shout out to Jordynne for RVDing it on that dumbbell.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was good stuff. But yeah, it was a really good match.
I like the fact that Taya also went over clean. I feel and here's the thing, like I hate this whole WWE booking mentality as the only mentality we can have. You can have a heel win clean. That's exactly what happened. I like that they gave Jordynne the shoulder injury because it protects Jordynne in a loss. Because the argument goes from Jordynne was going to destroy Taya to Taya was able to win because Jordynne couldn't use her entire repertoire because of the shoulder injury. It opens up for the ability to win a bout. And if you think that's a problem, think about the fact that Anderson Silva lost to Chris Weidman way back, 2013? Because he snapped his fucking shin bone. But a win's a win's a win. So like if you want pro wrestling to be seen and taken seriously as a sport, or at least booked like a sport, you have to have sport-like finishes. And this was a sport-like finish. Taya didn't cheat. She took advantage of a wounded opponent, and she capitalized and hit her with the Road to Valhalla for the win. And it also serves as a good way to end the undefeated streak without making her look bad. And to your point, I think Don Callis is really talking to Jordynne, like, be more aggressive like Rhino. Because there's a lot of, like, when she was doing those running forearms that she does in those clotheslines, there's a little bit of the Rhino snap to it. And I think that's a good thing for her because she is going to be able to present herself in a unique way that is going to be different than anyone else as a very aggressive, very physically demanding wrestler. But here's where I think eras coincide with problems with this generation. Any other generation, people like Jordynne and Brian Cage would not be wrestling 30-minute matches. And we need to think about that. I want Brian Cage to win matches in 4 minutes, even if it's on pay-per-view, because if he's going to be called the Machine and unstoppable and unbreakable and all this nonsense, then he better damn sure put people down fast. Same with Jordynne. But on the flip side, with this match and what I was just talking about, it all makes sense because Jordynne was hurt, so she couldn't go at that rate. She couldn't put Taya down fast or aggressively because she was injured. So I want to see more of that, more squash matches, more dominant performances by your top stars, because that's how you build top stars.
Yeah, and that's something you've always consistently brought up about, being consistent with the squash matches, and I think that's even something you praised going back to the earliest days when he still mattered, when Strowman was
Hmm.
squashing people left and right.
Yeah, I was a very big fan of that. I was a big when Mark Henry started to really come back around in what was that 2011, 2012 when he finally won his world title. He was squashing
Mm.
people. When
Yeah.
Ryback got over, he was squashing people. It turns out that if you present somebody as a dominant force, we're going to believe they're a dominant force. Anderson Silva didn't get to where he was because he was squeaking out 5-round split decision reigns every fucking week. George St. Pierre wasn't, getting by on controversial decisions. That's not why he became a draw. He became a draw because if you got out of the first round of them, you were something special because you weren't getting out of the second. Because George St. Pierre was going to rush you because that's how he got his name. John Jones, as much of a cheater as I think he is, knocks people the fuck out. Brock Lesnar knocks people the fuck out. If we adapted that kind of mindset with pro wrestling, we used to have it, where top guys go over in dominant fashion every so often, or majority of the time, until they meet a significant opponent of significant talent and stature, then all of a sudden you start to develop stars again. Because it's not just about how you look and how you talk. It's a whole package. There's 5 tools for a reason, folks. I feel like I'm screaming into the void. One day I'm gonna hear something back, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be my voice finally coming back from the other end, or if it's gonna be somebody going, "I agree," and then I'm gonna be like, "Wait, what? Who said that?" Marcus, was that you? Why are you in the void? Oh, this is how I die. Okay. Next up was with Sami Callihan. Another wrestler that I have not been that big on for a while for his persona and his personality. I thought Swan was very rudimentary. I thought he was very 1998 cruiserweight, just kind of there. He wore pink trunks, he had dreads, and that was really his whole shtick. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
The black guy who dances. That's so new.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, but I'm glad you said it and not me. And I was like, maybe he just doesn't have the personality. And that's okay. Dean Malenko didn't, and he had a pretty damn good career. So you don't always need to be a big personality. You can just be a worker, and that's fine. But the problem is, in this day and age, everyone's a worker. So you need to find that other thing to stand out. Because back in 97, when Dean Malenko was the hottest thing in pro wrestling, he was one of a kind. No one else was doing his thing in the States. A silent dude who just grinded on a joint and had 5-star matches, that was a rarity in 97. Today you can find that at your local indie. So that's not a helpful way to present yourself. But this Swan is unhinged idea? Okay. I don't know where you can go to make it different than Eddie, but then again, I think Eddie needs to be brought back to center anyway. So that would open up the avenue to do it with Swan. But the rivalry has brought out the anger in Swan, and has brought out the personality. Now, I don't know where you go with this going past the Sami Callihan-Swan feud, but I know Swan has that ability now. So now it's just about finding it and utilizing it more often to make him stand out beyond just being the work rate X Division champion. And this match was, oh my God, criticisms on personality aside, or praise for personalities aside, this was a brutal X Division match, and I think this is something that the division needs more of in the current climate. I kind of pitched the idea of taking away disqualifications in general for the match and letting it be a title that folds and molds to the champion's personality. So Swan would be a high flyer, so it'd be a lot of high flying. If Callahan had won, it'd be more of a hardcore belt. And I think that would be a very useful way of maximizing and utilizing the X Division beyond just the old tire trope of it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. Let's push the idea of no limits even further past just the idea of weight, and let's go beyond conventional rules. Take away the 10-second countouts. Take away the DQs. Go more into the idea of a no-limit division championship, and I think you'll have a second life with the X Division. But that's just me. That's just an opinion. But Marcus, what do you think of this bout?
Yeah, I mean, they had to go here. When you go as personal as they did, the match needs to reflect that. It needs to matter, and I think obviously you're gonna have some form of fashion with this when you're dealing with Callahan for a long period of time. So, it was really cool to see like you said, Swan up his game and bring out that other aggressive side of him. He came out in sparkly, Michael Jackson S jacket, but he was not dancing or shucking or jiving or doing none of that. He was all business,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still getting used to him with this baby face, literally. Um, but yeah, I'm digging everything with Swan. I mean, I say he got the ability to turn things up. I mean, obviously, there's nothing the guy can't do from an athletic perspective, but turning up that aggression against somebody like Callahan really does take him specifically with the X title to a different level. So yeah, I really dug it, and he got the win, and we'll see. And like you said, I think you pointed this out. It will be cool to see Callahan rack up some wins. I mean, he's picked up some pretty hefty ones too, but he has also racked up some losses. So maybe that'll start changing. But it was cool to see the X title defending again. Like you said, I just want to get the victory specifically with the rule of had OVE come down, they would have got 5. So that guaranteed us a clean finish, which is not something we've always been guaranteed on past Impact cards.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, Callahan has beaten Dreamer and Willie Mack this year, and I think that's part of the reason why it kind of shook me, like the way it did, because like I had completely forgotten about that, because they weren't really big feuds. But I was also like, okay, we're not in the Bray Wyatt territory. But when you think about it, Eddie, Pentagon, and Swan, his 3 biggest feuds since he's entered Impact and LAX, all losses, and he's never won a title. Perception matters in pro wrestling more than anything, so he needs to start winning some of these matches. In a bubble, I don't mind Swan going over, because it makes sense. He finds that next gear, he's able to evaluate. Nope, that's not the word I'm thinking of. He's able to raise his character. There we go. I'm having a night. And he's also able to put together his best foot forward going into his next program, because they are building him up for Ace Austin, so that's going to be a huge barn burner at some point. But we're looking at this match in the scope of Callahan's personality and Callahan's tenure in Impact. You almost feel that he needed to go over in this match because of the fact he's lost all of his other major matchups. He's lost all of his other title matchups. You need to be worried about what the long-term effect of these losses are going to be on Callahan. Say what you will about guys like Hogan and Savage and Flair, who, they're always picky about who they put over. There's a reason for that, and there's a good reason for it. It's because they are protecting themselves as a commodity, because wrestlers are a commodity. Your personality, your persona, your image is a commodity, and if you become the guy who's always losing, then you lose that commodity. Bray Wyatt isn't doing the Firehouse House of Dumbass because he's a good character and people love him. They're doing it because he failed. They failed as a company, and they dropped his stock so low that it didn't matter what they did with him. So they have to find a new way to bring him back. I don't want that to happen to Callahan, so to avoid that, you need to give Callahan some big wins. So, yeah. That being said, great match. The 2 big spots that stood out in my mind were obviously the Lego spots, because Legos. But, Marcus, that catch suplex into the chair, oh my God, I felt bad for Swan's ass. That looked painful.
Yeah, a lot of that was going around the night, well, specifically in one match. But yeah, neither guy are afraid, and that's another thing that elevates. And
that's the word I was looking for. Was elevate, by the way.
Yeah, that does. That elevates a match like this, and specifically when you got 2 guys who aren't afraid to take bumps like that. I mean, Callahan's made a career out of it now, and he set a bar with his match with Pentagon, so obviously. Mm-hmm. But that I mean, one thing if you don't give this show an A, you damn sure better give a show A for effort from this talent. Like they went all out on this show, and that's again, it's worth it. They need their big shows to, have big moments and big takeaways and stuff like this. Again, this feud warranted that. Like Callahan is a sadistic psycho, and he's telling Swan he's gonna beat him half to death because he loves him. Like, me beating you half to death is me doing what's right for you because you're family. So, yeah.
And Swan saying, what would he say? I love you or something like that as he put down Callahan to end the match.
Exactly. I'm not perfect.
Oh, it was great. Oh, it was a great blow off. I'm interested to see where OVE goes next, truthfully. So next up we get Tessa versus Gail. Let me just say this about Gail. It's very clear why she's retired now. But that being said, I think she had a much better outing this time around than when she was back in Canada back in 2017 for Bound for Glory. Much better performance from Gail Kim. Her back looks like it's healed up quite well. But she's not who she was 10 years ago, and be honest, we don't expect her to be, but kind of wish she was. I mean, she's the greatest female wrestler of all time, for Christ's sakes. But and here's the thing, as bad, as critical as I'm being about Gail Kim, she's still better than 90% of the wrestlers going today in the women's divisions across the world. It's just, she's the greatest. It's like watching Tom Brady at 42 relying more on crossing routes and check down routes than throwing deep bombs. Like, you understand why. You're just like, but I like the big bombs. So it's okay. And Gail brought her own. She hung with Tessa. It wasn't like Tessa completely outpaced her at all or outclassed her. She held her own with Tessa, and it was a brilliant outing. They both looked like $1,000,000. That hair that Tessa was rocking, straight out of the 80s. I love it. She looked like a movie villain. She looked like she was about to start bossing around people at the Fast Times at Ridgemont High or pretending to be a Russian in some kind of sports movie. It was great. I loved it.
It looks so good.
Plus, her daddy was there. Tully showed up backstage and then ringside.
Yeah, look like she completely got caught off guard by that. And I love how much of a badass she is. I love this with women in general. Like, they come off like these complete this total chicks that can kick everybody's ass. And then the minute her daddy showed up, she immediately melted and turned into his little girl. Love that.
It's very endearing. We are big fans of fathers on this on all of our podcasts. You should hear how we talk about Joe West. I think that's the reason Marcus and I still pay attention to the Flash as much as we do. If Joe West did a 22-minute spinoff called Joe West, the Joe West Files, and it's a sitcom where he's like handling big murder cases every week, and then at the end when he's about to solve it, Barry runs in and solves it for him, and Joe just goes, and, he puts his hand on his hip and goes, Barry! And then, I'd watch that show. I would, as long as Joe West was in a dispensing parenting advice throughout the episode. But I'm right there with you, Marcus. I'm all about the fatherly figures in sports or entertainment in general having an impact, and this was a big one. The bout was ferocious. They both took big spots. There was one spot, Marcus, I don't know if you caught this, because at the time I was putting some notes in for the column that I eventually posted. So I'm not sure if I saw what I saw, but it looked like Tessa was on the ringside floor by the corner turnbuckle. And Gail went to go do like a 619, but Tessa was out of range, and Gail kind of just missed. I
totally caught that.
Okay, so
it looked so goofy, because the angle they caught it on, it wasn't completely noticeable. But if you look, you're like, what the hell? Like, what was Gail doing? Because like Tessa was walking towards the camera. Or from our angle, like walking towards us, and like Gail kind of set up for it, and she just went, whoop, like it was like a kid playing on the playground when you get the ball. It was awkward, but she corrected it, and I think she either did it again or did something else. Obviously, Gail, consummate professional, she knows how to adjust on the fly. But yeah, it was a quick awkwardness in the match, and I can only imagine how it looked for the fans who were right there. So,
if I remember correctly, Tessa was going over to yell at Irvine, Gail Kim's husband, Robert Irvine, and it was just kind of like a weird moment. Gail completely recovered and just dove on her, but it was still just one of those moments you're like, wait, did I see that? Then there was a cool moment in the corner where they were on the top rope, and Tessa just threw Gail to the floor. I was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That looked like it hurt.
She also hit, and everything the girl does is brutal, but she hit her with that corner code breaker when she caught up in the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that always looks like it just sucks because it's like it's blunt force impact. Mm-hmm. Even if you all blocking on the way coming down, it's just that sucks. But yeah, neither one of them held back. I mean, Gail got to go vintage. Gail came with the figure 4 around the ring post, and Tessa just did so much. But Gail Gail had a Scott. It was just a really great exchange, between the two of them, and obviously I don't think they had linked up before that in the match format. Obviously they may have had some stuff rehearsed, but they had some real good chemistry in this match.
The ending was even better because Tessa threw out a submission hold modification that I'd never seen before. She had Gail essentially in a Cobra clutch, but she had her lying down in almost a cross-face position, so it was a Cobra clutch cross-face. And then Gail kind of rolled through, and Tessa just didn't even reapply it. She never let go of it and got her to tap, and it was an amazing submission hold. I don't even know how she got into it, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was great. It was another. I think my favorite thing about that whole thing, beside me, obviously, that's a great variation on that move, by the way, and I hope she keeps it.
Me too.
Specifically, talking about getting back into the title picture, I think it's necessary, especially when you look at Taya, who now has a submission and everything. And getting back to their match for a second, it was just great to see a muscle buster again in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about that spot was, and for whatever reason, they do this a lot. When Tessa goes to hit that Magnum off the top rope, the opponent is never really close enough to give it the oomph that it's supposed to have, so she has to, go like Jeff Hardy across the ring with it, which I don't necessarily like because that's more risk on Tessa. Mm-hmm. But the way she did it, it was a flawless transition because she hit it and she didn't get all of it, and she knew she didn't get all of it, so she was ready for Gail to kick out and instantly transition into that Cobra clutch. And that I really appreciate, because there's nothing worse when a match that good has like a crap finish with a glance and blow or something, like going back to that Moose match.
WrestleMania! Sorry, excuse me.
The whole show. It's like they did this move with Moose where Ethan would do this move, and Moose was supposed to continue the momentum with the slam, but it looked awkward.
Yeah.
Who was it? No, it wasn't them.
Were you talking about the 6-way where Ace Austin did that kind of rolling flip thing to finish the match?
No, I know what I'm thinking about now. It's the last Impact where Cage and the Lucha Bros.
Oh, okay.
They did a move where it was supposed to be a continuous momentum, and it didn't come off well with Cage, but thankfully that wasn't the finish of the match. But yeah, you just hate to see a match end on a glancing blow. But yeah, that was a great submission, and I thought Gail was gonna get out of it, but Tessa, did what a professional would, and she rolled and kept it in. Kind of took me back to that classic between Sasha and Bayley when Sasha freaking held her foot against the ropes and stuff like that. So it was just a cool moment, man. And for, again, we kind of did our predictions and knew Tessa would get it. Hopefully that she would get it. But it was just a beautiful match from start to finish, whether it be the backstage segments and adding the husband and the fathers of it all. And Robert Irvine literally looked like he was thinking about firing somebody from their own restaurant on the side. Because it just got to one point, I'm like, Robert literally looks like he's thinking about who he's going to yell at their restaurant on the next segment of his show. But, yeah, it was really just cool.
The last part of the segment that they were involved in was probably even the best. Tessa goes to ringside and hugs her father, and she starts breaking down. And Tully's whispering things in her ear, and she refuses to let go, and he refuses to let go. And remembering that they did not have the best relationship when she was young. She was living with her mother a lot. She was very close with her stepfather, Magnum TA, which, when you think about that, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard used to be the Rock and Triple H of the NWA. She's literally, like her mother's literally shacking up with the enemy. Yeah, I find that funny.
It's weird, like when she says she's third generation, and you're like, oh, wait, what? Whoa, this is weird.
Magnum's her stepdaddy, Tully's her daddy. They were rivals back in the 80s, and now they're raising a child together. That's a sitcom, god damn it. But
that's not wrestling at its finest and weirdest.
I don't know what it is. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. But so she starts breaking down. They hug and they exchange, and it looks like Tully points to the ring and says something to her, and Tessa gives her dad one last squeeze and heads into the ring, and Gail Kim's staring down Tessa, and Tessa puts her hand out. Gail Kim flies right by it and hugs Tessa, and they hug each other, and I'm sitting here like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Shut up, dweeb. Because it's so emotional and it's so raw and it's so real, and then Tessa gives the ring to Gail, leaves, does like a literal bow, and then just as she's singing her song, and she just goes. I'm like, damn, she's the star. And I've been saying this since she debuted. She's the star of the division, but now it feels like she's the star of the division. They made her the new name. And then Gail had this great moment with her husband, and fans are chanting for her. It was a real. This was like, there was that one spot where she misses that 619, but that's forgotten about when you think about the entirety of the ending and how perfect it was. Oh man, I was sitting here fighting back tears, like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever.
It was so good, and she hit Eat Defeat and Tessa kicked out of that, and they're just like you said, that moment was so forgettable. It was goofy, but it wasn't Titus O'Neil egregious.
No, Titus O'Neil wanted to date that lower ring post for some reason.
It was bad, but yeah, it was just so good. It looked like I said, another beautiful moment between Tessa and her dad at ringside. It looked like he kind of told her, "Now you go in that ring and you show that woman the respect she deserves." And she went in there, and it was just a great moment, and I think this is why Gail Kim came out of retirement. I don't think she would have came out of retirement for a lesser opponent.
No, I don't either.
She wasn't necessarily happy with how she retired with the Maria of it all. Like, there was a lot that went into that feud, but the payoff was never going to be what it was supposed to be because Maria couldn't hang with her.
Mm-hmm.
So, her going out like that kind of left a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. She even said it. That's not necessarily, it didn't feel like that was the final stamp on on that last chapter for her. But this was perfect. Literally her passing the torch to a worthy successor.
Mm-hmm.
In the company that she helped. I mean, she put it on her back. I mean, not only is she one of the greatest of all time, period, she is the little foundation upon which that Knockouts division stands. So for her to, go out like this with the person that's going to clearly carry the torch for the next however long she's going to be with the company, and in the industry in general, like Tessa is we just don't see a lot of talents like her.
No.
So it was just a truly beautiful moment. Again, like you said, her giving Gail the ring as she should. Another aspect, just one of the many things I love about Tessa, how she always sings her theme song after her victory, and sometimes when she comes to the ring, because a theme song really is a key component into a lot of these wrestling talents, and hers fits her perfectly. So yeah, I mean, that had to be my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of great matches on this show, but from action and the feeling perspective, this was my match of the night.
It's hard to argue against that. It's really that good, and just the ending alone will have you choked up. So then you have Brian Cage taking on and defeating Johnny Impact for the world title. I really thought the first 5 or 6 minutes of this match, it was just going to be Cage dominating and then winning and then going home. Johnny Impact is able to battle back. There's an insane spot where they did a Spanish fly to the ringside floor, and it hurt Cage's back real bad, to the point where I'm surprised he was able to finish the match, and why the match came out as good as it did. Because while it may not have been Kenny Okada, it was really good. Like, I liked it. It wasn't. We've seen worse world title matches on pay-per-view, so I had no problem with it. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's a match of the year candidate.
Yeah, it was.
You can like something and still admit that it was lacking something.
Yeah, God bless you. Like, it was funny, and not funny, but you could tell like the momentum got kind of killed when he hit that spot. It was a cool spot, but you kind of like kind of wondered if a what if scenario had he not done that spot. It might have been something else though. It could have been anything. Like Cage, and this goes back to what you were saying about him being dominant. A lot of these injuries he's probably racked up is because he's gone in these long matches, probably doing a lot of things that he probably didn't need to be doing. for as long as he was on him because the match didn't need to go that long, and because of that, he's racked up a lot of injury. Like he came out like with cupping marks on his back.
It looked like he got into a fight with Starro.
So he's, if you going to the point where you're getting cupping, obviously he did it for the match, but in his health in general, he's probably got a lot of nagging stuff that he needs to take care of, and it's right to put the title on him, but I don't know if it's the right time, which is unfortunate because if you don't put the title on him now, you run the risk of, what we're seeing a lot of, WWE pulling the trigger too late or not at all scenario, and then by the time he gets another title shot, we don't care anymore. So, but it sucks because you can see he was banged up, and, after he hit that spot, Johnny went almost from being his opponent to his damn near caretaker because of how much time he had to spend, on the Michael Jackson side every 5 minutes or after every move. Like, Cage, are you okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay, Brian Cage? You've been hit, pop, boom, boom. You've been stopped, pop, boom, boom. The Spanish Fly.
It was, and it was obvious too. Like normally, the communication is always gonna be there in those matches, but this was like blatant.
Yeah.
Like
they changed a lot of things on the fly. You could tell.
Yeah, like Johnny hit a move that had no repercussions on him, and he'd just be down like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just kind of kneel here for however long, and it kind of hurt the match for me personally. Like I said, God bless Cage for finishing, but I can only imagine the level of physical hell he was going through to get to that last part. So
I think part of the issue when it comes to Brian Cage is, one, the idea of a man his size doing the things he does is no longer that impressive because we see it so goddamn often nowadays. When Joe was doing it in 2005, it was a rarity. But now in 2019, 14 years later, every dude your size does it. So don't do it anymore because your back is fucked for a reason, my dude. You're 285 pounds doing a backflip. You have no business doing that. Stop. We ain't buying a ticket to see Brian Cage do a moonsault. We're good. Homie. Hit him with a drill call and call it a match in 26 seconds. That's what we want to see. You look like Goldberg. You talk like Goldberg. You got hair on your chest like Goldberg, which, by the way, I'm fine with that. I think the typical look of the shaved body doesn't always need to be the typical look. I think you can differ it up. But you don't need to be a cruiserweight, Cage. Like, yeah, you were the X Division champion. That was cool, but you barely hung with them in terms of athleticism. Just because you can do a backflip doesn't mean you're athletic. This is like Big E doing the dives to the ringside. Like, no one wants you to do that. We are not going to miss 275 pounds of a 5'11" black man jumping into a fucking sea of carnage. Like, bro, your shoulders and neck are too valuable. Don't. Big E, Brian Cage, all those big muscular hosses, you don't need to do it. It's okay if you don't, because there's other reasons why we're going to tune in to watch you. So I think if Cage stops doing that, if Big E stops doing that as well, because they're both big dudes with chronic injuries now with their shoulders and neck and back, they'll have longer careers and we'll be just as interesting as well.
Yeah, and obviously this ain't. I mean, and this is obviously don't have nothing to do with the part about his physical element when it comes to the match. But if I'm going home to Melissa Santos, I ain't trying to have a bad back.
No, God, no. God, no. I don't think she could hold you up during sex. That's all I'm going to say. The finish, though, was fantastic because so Lance Storm pisses off Johnny Impact. So Impact kicked Lance Storm. And then Johnny Bravo, who's at ringside. And by the way, I love Johnny Bravo's shit-eating heel gimmick of a manager. I love it. He gets in the ring with a referee shirt and starts counting. But he counts in normal cadence, and Cage kicks out. And Johnny Impact's like, what are you doing? Count faster. And he's like, I thought you had it. And then Johnny Bravo gets back up, and Lance Storm kicks the shit out of Johnny Bravo. And he goes to the ringside, and he goes to DQ Johnny Impact. And I think, did he kick Lance Storm too? Did Lance Storm kick Johnny Impact too?
No, I think he kicked. By the way, that is he's always done a super kick on Southpaw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because it goes like he sticks that thing. By the way.
Oh yeah, he does. Because he does that little hop to a finish.
Yeah, he sticks the hell out of that thing. It looks awkward, but he sticks it. But yeah, he kicked Bravo, and he was about to DQ. Yeah, and Kay was like, no, I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that illegal too, to be touching the ref and telling him to not DQ? But again, the ref's discretion. So
yeah, I mean, it's special guest referee Lance Storm for a reason, and he came to the ring to be serious for a moment. I think Brian Cage hit the drill claw and got the win and title.
Yeah, I love how Bravo went from ringside viewer to referee. I'm like, is that even freaking legal? It's like, because he had a ref shirt on under his stuff.
It's not, and that's why it was awesome, because I like, obviously that's not going to be permissible. What I also did love was during the promo package for the match, they highlighted the fact that Don Callis was like, we went back and reviewed the footage, and Johnny Bravo was the referee of every single one of Johnny Impact's title matches. I don't know if that's true, but headcanon, I believe it.
Yeah, I hope that's true, because
that's long-term booking right there.
Yeah, that really is, or really an ultimate convenience when it comes to this feud. But yeah, I hope that continues, because like some of the best stuff he did in Lucha Underground was as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
So this continues now. Obviously, it's not going to be the penultimate couple of Impact now, since it's kind of one-sided with Taya. But we'll see. This could go any number of ways. Potentially a way that we don't really have any desire to see. Like, if, things got to go away, put it back on Impact now. Like shoot a video of you giving Impact the title now and put it out on the social media, and I will retweet it to death.
So then we got the debut of Michael Elgin post-match. He comes out. He comes into the ring. He stares down Brian Cage before. I think he hit him with a power bomb, and then he left. And fans were all right with it live in person. But for me, we know too much about Michael Elgin, and it's not one of those things where I want to say that Elgin can't get back to a place of redemption. It's that you need to earn that. I don't believe respect is earned. I believe that respect is given, unequivocally to anyone who exists, because that's just what we should be doing as a society. We respect one another. But when we talk about forgiveness after you've wronged someone, I don't believe you just forgive. I believe that you need to make the appropriate steps to forgiveness. And I don't believe Elgin's done that. I believe Elgin has ran and hid and hide and done every dirty deed possible to prevent himself from facing any type of responsibility for his actions. And Elgin has been accused of stalking somebody. He's been accused of cheating on his wife, and he's been accused of, and Elgin, in his own words, is accused or has admitted to sexually assaulting a woman. These are not throwaway issues. I'm not saying he's irredeemable. Look at Mike Tyson. You can be redeemed, but you have to put in the work, and you have to acknowledge what you've done is wrong. Elgin is lying about lying about lying. I don't want him on my television set until he's able to find the ability to be forgiven. Recompense is a bitch, but it's got to be paid. So I'm not going to sit here and be positive towards Elgin, but I'm also not going to sit here and boycott Impact Wrestling and denounce them, because he was going to go to NXT. Apparently Impact ponied up the money is what I'm hearing to convince him otherwise. And considering that NXT and WWE itself is a shit show, it's not really that hard to go, do I want to go to a show where I'll be used and paid, or do I want to go to a show where I won't be used and will be almost paid, but not completely paid? It makes sense. And there's still a part of Elgin, he is a name. And any type of name value added to the promotion is a good thing. That doesn't mean I have to like him. It's like the Alberto Patron thing. I don't need to like every guy on this roster to support the brand. Because there are people who love the wrestlers in WWE but don't like Vince McMahon. So I feel like the inverse is true as well. So I don't like it. I did think it hurt the overall vibe of the show, but to me it's still an A show. And I think anyone who says it isn't really has some biases they need to address. Unless Marcus says it, in which case Marcus is right and he's perfect and you all can't question him.
Well, thank you, but yeah, I couldn't have put it no better myself. I mean, it's just obviously for as long as we stuck with Impact through times that have decisions made that was far worse than this.
Yes.
Hogan,
Bishop. Moving to my next. Sorry, my throat's really phlegmy tonight.
That's not even that's just in the name and date portion of the list. But yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like you said, he is a name. He is a guy that puts in work in between the ropes. Never really somebody that popped off the screen for me. Not denying what he can do, but and just not somebody that pops for me. But yeah, you got a debut. You got people talking. Well, then they do need buzz right now. And I think getting a new guy on top of having a great show can't hurt. I don't know what this is going to necessarily do for their female fan base. Not like we got analytics for that right now. I guess we can gauge that by social media reactions. But yeah, like you said, it didn't completely dim the show for me. And although it did completely make me forget that there was another match to be had, I'm just glad that you reminded me in the text. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Because I was like, wait a minute, y'all gonna do that crap and then y'all gonna keep talking on the show? I'm like, wait, hold up. Oh, it's not over. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that you and I were talking last night throughout the show because I didn't want you to miss that main event because I knew it was going to be bonkers. And as soon as they were doing the rundown, like I think it was after the first match, they were going practically in order. They went world title, then they went the tag team titles. I went, oh, they're going to finish with the tag team match, aren't they? And then Callis basically reinforced it by saying, oh, yeah, it's going to be a double main event tonight. And that's kind of why I was like, well, you could easily do a 5-minute squash match victory for Cage if you're going to put the tag titles on last. Now, this isn't the first time the tag team titles went on last either. 2007, there was 2 shows back-to-back where the tag team titles were on the line. One was a singles match because Russo. It was Joe versus Angle for all the gold. And then the month prior to that was Victory Road 07, where it was Team 3D versus Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, where whoever got the pin would win that title. Joe was the ex-champ, Angle the heavyweight champion, and then Team 3D was the tag team champs. So whoever got the win would get that belt, and Joe pinned, I think, Bubba or Bully to get the tag team titles. So this isn't the first time on the 3-hour pay-per-view extravaganza that the tag titles have gone last, but it has been some time. This match, I can't even describe it all. It's bonkers as fuck. You just need to watch it. There's so many extreme moments in this, not even to be Vince McMahon with the ECW revival. It's an Extreme Rules match. No, like, there was a scene, I don't even remember what the fuck they were doing. Phoenix tried to, do a move, he had Ortiz, and they jumped off something, and Ortiz went through a ladder, and Phoenix nearly killed himself going neck first into the ramp. I don't even remember what it was. I just remember watching Phoenix land on the neck and Pentagon slide in right next to him to go, are you still alive? And thank God Pentagon was there because he was relaying everything Phoenix was saying to the ref. And eventually you just see Pentagon say he's okay or something comparable because as soon as he says that, he gets right back up and starts kicking Ortiz. Poor Ortiz. Dude didn't even get checked on. He went through a table and Pentagon's like, fuck you, bitch. Ha 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 ha. Starts kicking on him. I felt bad for him. I'm surprised any of these dudes are still alive today. This match, holy shit. You don't follow this match. That's why it goes last.
Yeah, just one specific move and specifically, boom!
Oh my god.
This match needed, I love Don Callis and I tolerate Matthews, but this match needed JR commentary.
By God, he is broken in half.
Don't do it.
Pentagon's whipping Ortiz like a government mule. Phoenix and Santana are brawling like it's a Friday night until this go home and it's just been payday. What are you even saying sometimes, JR? Barbecue sauce.
By God, that landing by Phoenix was bowling shoe ugly.
There's a reason why we tell you not to do this at home.
Oh man, but for real though,
they need to get insurance from Geico.
That's why Phoenix was sick. If he could have just rotated, he did. It's weird because he usually,
he seemed to get stuck midair.
Yeah, it's like air was. It's like gravity was like, not today.
Have you seen Ernest Saves Christmas?
Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where Ernest can't control the reindeer and they're about to smack into the ground, but they all stop, and Ernest turns to the camera and goes, air brakes. I feel like someone put on Phoenix's air brakes.
Oh my god.
Because he just stopped and went, I was expecting to see like the Roadrunner with a sign going, oh, that looked like it hurt, and then takes off running, because like it seems so comical but so goddamn dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it was really like gravity did a hard stop on his soul. Like it was bad, man. But thankfully, and it didn't help because it was on a ramp too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not a plus. But thankfully, the match did get finished. You know, Pentagon picked up the slack. He obviously went and checked on his real life brother. But Ortiz after that spot too, he was not. He was in some serious pain. I think he was so eager for that match to get over. He was like, let's do this table spot and get out of here, kid. And Santana was like, wait! Like, that was supposed to be a street sweeper! That was me as a fan. But after I saw that Phoenix spot, I was like, you know what? That'll do, kid.
Right?
That'll do.
Right? I feel like when Phoenix is doing his rotations, he went up, and then all of a sudden you just see like Ace Austin come down from the rafters. So-and-so dies on Game of Thrones tonight. And then Phoenix goes, what? And he just falls.
Somebody just like, who is it? Sir George! No! But, I know somebody need to, and I would if I could, and maybe not because I like Phoenix, and this could have been a legitimate like death moment for him. But you seen those videos with Chuck Norris just shooting people? That's what that looked like.
It did. It looked like you've seen the end of Turtles in Time, right? The Turtles 3?
Yeah.
Where the main villain falls off the cliff and he just disappears. That's kind of like, that's what I felt was happening. Like, Phoenix didn't just happen to be there. All of a sudden, a dude emerges from the sky and just splats against the fucking ramp. Like, Jesus. Oh, that looked bad. I'm glad everyone's okay. I don't know if Phoenix wrestled tonight, but everyone else was there at the TV tapings tonight. There are rumors that Pentagon and Phoenix are going to go exclusive with AEW. I heard that yesterday morning, and I put it in the column last night. Like, there are rumors that Pentagon and Phoenix are wrapping up with Impact. Meltzer confirmed that there are possibilities that could happen. Who knows? They're both still on the brand for this set of tapings, so who knows? We'll see what happens there. All in all, this was an A-plus show. And then all the faces come out at the end of the night to celebrate. And Conan goes, Lucha Bros and LAX on 3. And then Ortiz goes, why does it got to be Lucha Bros first? And Conan goes, because I said so. And Ortiz is like, okay, my bad, dude.
I love that, man. Oh, my God, man.
So, and Taylor Wilde was there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I love that tweet that Jay was. Wait a minute, Taylor Wilde works there?
She was set for the first Mae Young Classic, but then she got hurt, and she tweeted out way back. This was like 2017. She tweeted out like, "I'm still retired, and I don't really have any intentions on unretiring. But if the opportunity arises to take a different role in wrestling, I'll jump at that." So I do believe that maybe Taylor Wilde was brought in as a producer or as an agent for the backstage to work with the Knockouts. Because I don't know if Gail Kim is taking a sabbatical, because she announced that she, granted it was in storyline, so who knows if it's true or not, but she said that she was going to be taking a leave from her backstage activities, and who knows what Gail Kim wants to do family-wise. Like neither her or Robert are exactly the youngest people out there, so they might want more kids. They might not, because she's a stepmother. Or she might just be looking to take some time home. Or because they're in Toronto, they wanted to give Taylor a chance to flex her muscles as a producer. Who knows? There is a dramatic emphasis on Canadian talent in the backstage area, and that's not that surprising considering they've ran 2 Canadian venues already this year alone, both in Windsor and in Toronto. Michael Elgin, Canadian. The North, Canadian. Taya Valkyrie, Canadian. Scott D'Amore, Canadian. Don Callis, Canadian. They were going after Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega because they were Canadian. There is an emphasis to bring in Canadian talent, and without going into spoilers, Tyson Dukes returns to television during tonight's set of tapings. Granted, he's not going to do anything. He's enhancement talent. He's a trainer at this point. But again, more Canadian talent, and there's a reason for that because they want to really ingratiate themselves with the Canadian fan base because they are a Canadian company now. I don't have a problem with any of that. It's just simple explanation, and they're not going to go complete Canadian because there are talents from Mexico, Japan, England, United States, wherever that would benefit them, and they know that. But I think Taylor Wilde was brought in to help kind of grow as a backstage producer, and maybe she'll return as a wrestler. Who knows? We'll see with this next set of tapings. Because the first two are tonight, and then the next two will be tomorrow. So, lot going on. Also, the other big news that came out of the show was the end of the Global Wrestling Network app, although that was kind of a low-key announcement. Because they preface it by saying the Impact Plus. I'm sure you heard about that, Marcus. The Impact Plus app.
Sure, Disney's loving that.
Right? Yes. Oh, that was great. Now the difference is Impact Plus is spelled Plus, and Impact and Disney Plus is just the plus sign. So the general gist of this is it's a rebuilt from top to bottom streaming app, just like the Global Wrestling Network was, but not the Global Wrestling Network app. So that's good. They're going to end the Global Wrestling Network app and just utilize Impact Plus. It's going to be the same thing, but they keep using the word stream the shows live. They were talking about the House of Glory card that they had with Amazing Red's promotion. They're like, we're going to air that on Wednesday, which is, I believe, the day it launches. So there might be a desire to make this a device that they can stream shows to live. If that's the case, that'll be very interesting because that was something that the Global Wrestling Network app couldn't do. And all in all, I think it's the right move because the Global Wrestling Network app was a very janky, very broken at times app. The experience was fine because it gave you a lot to watch. I've used it quite exclusively. But the Impact Plus app does seem to be a better interface. Better improved streaming is what they've promised. So hopefully you can actually fast forward and rewind through shows because that was something you couldn't do on the Global Wrestling Network app. So that was kind of a pain in the ass. I hope that it's not as broken and ugly as the other one, so I'm all for this, and it drops Wednesday, so I don't know if I have to cancel my Global Wrestling Network subscription or what, but I'm not paying for both.
Yeah, it just Impact Plus sounds better. Mm-hmm. It's obviously more affiliated with the brand because that got started when it
was Global Force Wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. So. That's the last piece of kind of getting away from that whole period. So it's cool, and this is kind of fresh new content. I see Matthews has been getting back to doing those around the rings, which I like. And some other content, like if they could do more of that stuff like they did with Josh Alexander on there, that was some solid content. Mm-hmm. I would very much like for them to kind of in a way bring back maybe that some of that before the Bell they used to do. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just branding, man. It's just branding.
They also promised exclusive originals, and they did show content that was from the Fight Network. I'm hoping they start investing money in doing actual long-form documentaries like we used to see in wrestling back in the day. Impact used to have a bunch of these, top 100 moments, the Asylum Years, Part 1. Still waiting on Part 2. We'll see if that ever happens. Or a year or two is what I should say. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I think part of the thing that wrestling companies need to really get on board with is your own interviews. And not just like in-character, on-brand interviews. One of the best aspects of the WCW magazine before, they canceled it back in the 2000s and late 90s is they were doing shoot interviews. Like Jeff Jarrett literally went after Jim Ross and explained his side of the whole No Mercy incident from 99 because they're like, Jeff, tell us what really happened. And he told us what really happened. Do that with your Impact Plus. Do interviews where you're sitting down with Jordynne Grace talking to her about what it's like to, because she just released a book of dealing with DMs on Twitter. Talk to her about that. Like, actually cut to that. Talk to Tessa about the relationship with her father and what strained it. Talk to Johnny Impact on why he left the WWE, or talk to Michael Elgin about the allegations. Like, bring up real things in your interviews, and people will come to them. We didn't show up for the destruction of the Ultimate Warrior because we thought it would be a great tell-all tale of how great Warrior was. We wanted to see him get ripped. And we did. And I believe that was the appropriate DVD for that man. I don't believe in revisiting or re-stylizing history to fit a narrative. Warrior was a piece of crap, man. Like let's not split infinitives here. But I'm excited for the Impact Plus app. It comes May 1st, so it's coming in 2 days. And I don't know if they're gonna cancel just take down the Global Wrestling Network or what. But I told Zach to watch the stuff that we need to watch for this weekend ASAP, because I'm probably going to cancel my Global Wrestling Network subscription tomorrow night just in case, because I don't know what they're going to do with the Impact Plus stuff. Like, I don't even know what the website is for it yet, or if there is a website for it.
It'd be cool if they kind of just switch the GWN, GNW people over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's asking too much.
Well, I think it's going to be a completely different interface, because it's kind of like, do you remember the old QuickTime videos, Marcus?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in the way they're designed, like the videos. And the PlayStation Plus, goddammit, the Impact Plus seems to be more YouTube, WWE Network stylized streaming content in terms of like the video design. So it's going to be a completely different system. So I don't know if you can just do like a name and face change, if you will. So maybe they can do like a rerouting for the Global Wrestling Network into the Impact Plus, like just change the URL and take everything down from the Global Wrestling Network and just to have it translate over to the Impact Plus. But I put in the URL for Impact Plus to see if there is one, and there wasn't. So I don't know. We'll see Wednesday. All our questions will be answered Wednesday. They did say that this on Twitter that this would replace the Global Wrestling Network, though. That is definitively in place. How they're going to go about it, though, is still anyone's guess at this point. So, overall final grade for Rebellion, Marcus. What are you going to give it?
Give it an A-. Like you.
I think A- right there. I'm going to rewatch it because I was getting into a debate during the main event about the ethics of spoiling shows on Twitter. The rule is don't. Don't be an asshole. I figured that's not a hard concept. And everyone's like, well, just stay off social media. Or just don't post spoilers. Like, I remember Zachary once posted something like, I can't believe that just happened on Game of Thrones. All right, that's cool. I don't know shit about what you're saying. And then somebody else was like, look at all these people who died in this battle. I was like, oh, that's not a dick move, you cunt. So yeah, it's just don't do it. It's not a hard thing. That's why Marcus and I did a non-spoiler cast on the Cobra Kai. And then Friday, Swish and I did a spoiler cast. You can listen to a non-spoiler edition of a review of Cobra Kai or the spoilery version.
Yeah. By the way, you know how hard it was for us not to get into a spoiler talk about freaking Cobra Kai on that last episode alone.
It was very difficult.
I want to go back and watch that last, but it's so much, and it was so many great moments. One in particular involving a glass case and a spin kick.
Oof.
But when you know where something's going, it's hard to take the journey again.
I agree, but here's the thing: we announced it this summer, starting the first week of June. The Cruel Summer podcast, brought to you by the Ohio Guys Podcast, brought to you by RealNerdCorp.com. We're going to be watching every single movie, except for the remake, because that movie's garbage, as well as the 2 seasons of Cobra Kai to better understand these characters. Breaking it down, it's the Cruel Summer. Swisher has offered the invite, Marcus, for you to join us. But I don't know what your schedule looks like on Fridays, so if you want to, you can partake. If you have other things going on, that's okay too. Swish wanted to extend the invitation. But it's June 7th, we're going to watch the first movie and discuss it. We're not going to watch it on air. We're going to discuss it, though. Then the next week, we watch the second one. Third week, we watch the third one. Fourth week, we watch the next Karate Kid, starring Pat Morita and Hilary Swank. And then in July, we do the back-to-back episode reviews on Cobra Kai Season 1 and 2. So there's going to be a lot of rewatching of the Karate Kid. We are going to have a Ralph Macchio-filled summer.
Nice. Go back and fall in love with his daughter all over again.
There you go. And that's going to be something that we're going to be planning more of. Like the show tomorrow, this Hulk Hogan retrospective we're doing, is going to be a new idea we're going forward with to explore other things beyond just the conventional talk on modern wrestling, because there's so many podcasts that do that. we've been following wrestling for God knows how long. Marcus, you got into wrestling like 2000, 2002, something like that?
Yeah, late 90s.
Late 90s. You know, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 3, and I saw Sting, and I was like, I like him. He got the face. The colors, I like that. Who's the dude who's barking with the junkyard? I like him. I like doggies. I was a very simple kid to entertain. Who's that? He's a dog face girl. I like him too. They're both doggies. Are they brothers? One's black, one's white. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm 3. Give me a break. Fuck.
But it becomes we see a lot, we watch a lot, we miss a lot because there's so much. It's just a lot out there, and it becomes monotonous. Like Chad said, there's as many podcasts talking about wrestling nowadays as there are wrestlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of the damn wrestlers have podcasts now. So it's just a lot, and a lot of them do talk about the same stuff, specifically the big kahuna, which is WWE and everything going on around that. So a lot of it becomes monotonous conversations that you don't really want to have, specifically when you don't even enjoy that part of it. So, you know, us deep diving on stuff like Hulk Hogan, I mean, I still give us all the credit that we'll never get acknowledged for about the Allison Mack thing.
There was a blogger, and then us, and that was it.
That's it. Oh, the spark heard around the world that only 2 people really.
Hey, if what we did helped inspire somebody else to break the story, I'm all right with that, honestly. And here's the thing. If tomorrow ABC News picks up this Michael Elgin story, I don't need to be credited. I want the information out there. That's it. That's all I care about.
Exactly. And tackling topics like that, I know we hit up the whole Enzo of it all when that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I said, it's us just tackling things from all sides, not picking them. You don't always get, guys that want to do that because for some reason, they think they want to be ingratiated with, can't talk bad about this guy. One day I might interview him or talk bad about this company because one day I might be working for him. It's like, okay, that you just cut your unbiased, I guess, quote unquote, podcast or journalistic integrity in half because, you're actively biased. So we don't do that here. No. We got our favorites. We got our, favorites, but, we try to come with this stuff from a very grounded and logical perspective because there's so much befuddlement and illogic that's seen as fact and truth out there now that we just try to stand out in a realistic way. So, there'll be some interesting research going back through this Hogan stuff, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, because the Hogan stuff of it all, because there's so much in that year, that singular year, that 12 months from when he allegedly made these, well, I shouldn't say allegedly, from whenever the alleged time was that he made these comments, because I don't know exactly what month this happened in where he started dropping some racist nonsense. But you take a look at that, and you look at the few months prior to that and the few months before that, or after that, it's one of the worst years you could physically have in this world. Like, it was a just car wreck of a year for a man. And, like, in the time, you don't really grasp the severity of it because, again, when it comes to, like, reviewing movies or wrestling or, just relationships in general, you don't really know what it is until a year's out. And looking back at that year Hogan went through, holy god damn, I don't blame him for being suicidal.
And again, you got a podcast with, what was the gentleman of Caucasian persuasion and one of the African American persuasion.
I like to call us the photo negatives.
Exactly, the photo negatives. Mixtape coming soon. But,
I would listen to that.
Well, yeah, 2 varying perspectives. But again, we just present. I mean, and as comic book fans, we know about the concept of just one bad day. Mm-hmm. This is like one bad year, and trust me, we're gonna get into the year of it all, and the Hogan of it all because he doesn't exactly help out a lot of his case a lot of the time, and we're gonna dive into all of that. So
we're at least gonna do these. We're at least gonna do 2 of these. We're going to see how they do, see how fans respond to them. The idea that I've always wanted to do is feature at individual ideas going forward. And I've been wanting to do this for God knows how long. And I finally took the website in that direction, and it's been paying dividends. I see the stats every day. I'm like, these are a lot better than what they were. All right. So I know that there is a desire for this. And as long as it's honest and well-researched, I don't have a problem leaning into that. My problem is when people do this stuff and they just pepper it with personal opinions. My personal opinion on Enzo is I'd like to smother him with a pillow while he drowns in the water above a dangling vat of acid. Then he dies and I let him drop. As a reporter, I have to look at when he was accused of rape and look at the entirety of the situation. I love Smallville. I loved Allison Mack. I cannot sit here and give her a pass when there's so much information out there, so many accusations out there that says completely different. You have to find the truth in a situation, even if it goes against how you personally feel. And like, I have some grand ideas for some of these deep dives. And part of me had been wanting to do videos on these for the YouTube channel, but I'm also like, that's not where we excel. We're not video editors, so let's do what we do best in podcast. So, guaranteed there's going to be 2 weeks of these. Tomorrow is going to be the Hulk Hogan featurette where we look at Hogan throughout that year. We'll talk about the initial time, as a little bit of a preamble to kind of set things up, where he was health-wise, emotionally, family-wise, and then we're going to talk after effect and how things, spun out of control and, the immediacy after that, and probably touch on a little bit of the 2008-2009 time period, because there's a lot going on there that I think, kind of came from this as well. Maybe not as negatives, but was definitely influenced by it. And then last night or I should say this morning, because it was like 5 in the fucking morning, 8 in the morning, whenever I went to bed finally. I was thinking about 2007 as a year, Marcus, and I thought to myself, everything about 2007 was bad. And I don't mean that to be like some kind of negative cuss. I mean like everyone was having a down year. It was right at the brink of the crash of the stock market. The recession was about to hit. People were starting to feel that. Then you had, just some really bad decisions wrestling-wise in terms of creative, and then talent-wise, and, tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And you look at 2007, it might be the darkest year in wrestling history. And that's going to be next week's. So if these 2 shows do well, we'll do more of them. If not, we'll just go back to talking shit about, WWE. We'll see. We'll see. We have something in the chamber. But either way, if these shows do take off, it's not like we're going to stop talking about modern stuff. But I think Marcus and I think we're both leaning towards talking more about Impact at this point than WWE. Like, we'll talk about major news stories still, obviously.
Yeah.
But the idea would be, if these stories do well, to either do these stories every other week so we have prep time to do them, and then do like a regular show in between, or do 2 shows back-to-back on back-to-back days about different things. That will come when we have a better idea what we're dealing with. So don't take anything to stock right now. None of the other podcasts are going anywhere. This is just something that we're growing and developing and looking forward to seeing what we can do. Maybe what we'll do is we'll do like an hour-long retrospective on Hulk Hogan, and then like the last 20 minutes we'll talk shit about why the Revival need to leave the WWE. Who knows? I don't know. We're constantly evolving. And that may be a shock to some people, but our name used to be Nerds of Evolution because we used to evolve all the time. We evolved out of the name, too. Actually, Lords of Evolution, way back in the day when I was like 22. Like, oh, that's a great name. 32-year-old me thinks I'm an idiot.
Eons ago. I still remember that logo.
Oh, my God. The Nerds logo with the... Or the Lords of Evolution logo.
The Lords logo, because that's when I joined.
Oh, God, that's right. You joined at the tail end of the Switch. Oh, God, that's right. Oh, what a terrible logo. We did have a cool fist logo. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty slick. It was like a glass mirror, and then like a taped fist was punching through it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bring that back too. I don't know how. I'm gonna do it.
That was our SmackDown fist.
It was our SmackDown fist. No one was listening either. Just like SmackDown. But yeah, we've had a good growth for the last 5-6 months with how we've been doing things, and I feel like this is just another feather in the cap. Plus, it's easy to translate over to YouTube. So here's hoping. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, we step up or we step out. Not really. That seems like a little pedantic to say. We're not going anywhere. Speaking of pedantic, I finally caught the pilot of Hank of the Hill. Oh, God, that was funny as fuck. That was so damn good. All right, so Marcus can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp on both. Twitter and Instagram. Just to make sure I said the right things. The website is realnerdcorp.com. If you want to listen to any of our old podcasts, or you want to listen or read about the Michael Elgin situation, you want to read a more full-on, in-depth review of Rebellion on the website, that's up there too. I'm going to write some stuff tonight so that way they can be shot out over the week or over the next few days. So that's going to be his thing. One of the things I'm going to talk about on the site, I think, is the 2007 WWE Draft, which will be in next week's conversation as well. But I wanted to focus a bit on that on the website because, holy fuck, everything was bad in that. Everything was bad. So check out that. We're on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealNerdCorp, on YouTube at youtube.com/NerdCorp. We're on Podbean at realnerdcorp.podbean.com. Links to all of the podcasts and the Podbean account are on the website. If you want to download to the computer, you can just go to the Podbean account and click on the download button. But if you want to download to your mobile device, you're going to have to download the app. It's free. It's no big deal. It's just, I guess, how they want to roll. Who knows? We're also on iTunes if you want to use that instead, by searching the podcast section of iTunes via NerdCorp, NERDCORP. Just put that into the search bar and click, and we're the green logo with the monkey doing the rock fist with the computer. It's how we roll. We're also on Twitter at NERDCORP and Instagram as well at Real Nerd Corp, so follow us there as well. I think that's everything, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. to talk the year that will never end for Hulk Hogan. Marcus, unless you have anything else you would like to add.
Oh, we got it.
Then I will ask you to send us home and say goodnight.
Good night, me.